and that has a lot to do with appendicitis. Apparently, my appendix ruptured. So this video is late because
she had a chicken nugget removed.
I had a chicken nugget removed from my abdomen. Yeah, my appendix was, they said, the size of a chicken nugget. It's supposed to be a French fry, but it was the size of a chicken nugget, and it was all scarred up and had been sick a long time, and apparently had ruptured several times. And I remember those times, but me and my hospital-averse ways, it caught up with me, and this time I just had to go, and we had it removed, and I'm doing great. So, but the video is late because of that, and for that I apologize, but you know, life happens, and it's the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that's what this channel is kind of about. So you're going through our journey with us. So, but today we're going to talk about our solar, which is more of the good than the bad. So the thing that I think is cool about our solar is that every conversation or every great idea starts out with, wouldn't it be so cool if, and then it goes from there. And that concept was our RV. Wouldn't it be cool if we just sold the house and moved into an RV? And yeah, that'd be so cool. And we wouldn't have all the utilities, and we wouldn't have this and that, and we'd trade it for some other hardships. But you know, we're misers, so that works for us, and we're willing to work hard for saving money. So and then it morphed into, wouldn't it be cool if we went out and found our dream property in that RV? Yeah. Wouldn't it be cool if we lived where Simple Living Alaska lives, because that's an awesome place. But the solar started with a wouldn't it be cool, and from there we began to discuss what it would take to have a solar setup that would take care of all of our needs. And one of the things I told Jordan at the beginning was, I don't want to suffer. You know, I'm
Oops.
Well, shoot. yeah. I didn't want to suffer. We've had some rough goes of it, and it hasn't been easy. And
I think the goal there is you don't want to suffer, so you try not to suffer. So instead of suffering terribly, you suffer somewhat, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah. Any time you venture out to take care of yourself, whether it's by, you know, living in a city with utilities, or living in an RV, or living out in the country by yourself, you're going to have some measure of difficulty, because taking care of ourselves and accommodating our needs for survival require a certain amount of work. And in the city, you're trading laborious lifting and carrying and lugging and trying to find water sources for paying somebody out of your hard-earned money from going to work to deliver it to you. And same thing for heat and electricity and all of that. So nothing that we have done has really been easy per se, and it hasn't exactly been not expensive, but it is always work.
So the first things I think is, people say, my solar. I've got a solar setup, or we've got solar. What does that mean? My house is powered by solar. Really, solar is just a piece of it. It's really about batteries. The batteries are where all your power is stored, and it ultimately comes out of to power your stuff. So you can have batteries and have an off-grid power system without having solar panels. Solar panels are just basically a way of filling your batteries. So I just want to clarify that. When people say they have solar, or we say we have solar, we really mean your power system just happens to be mostly powered by solar panels, but it doesn't have to be. You know, like, so, you know, why did we do solar? Because we didn't really know what we were going to do with ourselves. We knew we wanted to do something. We wanted to go somewhere. We're tired of living in apartments and cities and neighborhoods, HOAs, and all of that. So we needed to go wherever we wanted to go, and we didn't know where that was. So we needed to be free to go anywhere until we figured out this is the place we like. And electricity is really essential to be able to do that. I still work full-time from home, which is from the RV, and so I have to have steady, reliable electricity. So for the most part, solar was the For us, the best way to do it, you can get generators and run generators and stuff, but it's a lot of upkeep, it's a lot of noise. It's really nice once you get all the work done. The system is passive; it just sits there for the most part, and you don't have to do anything. And out of all of the suffering that we said we were trying to avoid, but we actually had to go through, since we left Ohio and got, since we sold our house, really, the solar has been the one thing that has worked probably right.
Yeah.
Well, there was a period of time where it did everything it was supposed to do. It just didn't do as much as we hoped it would do.
Yeah.
We did what we thought was hopefully enough because it could be expensive. And we learned it's just not enough, not for how we were living, not for the electricity use we had. To be fair, it was still summer. In Ohio, we were living on asphalt at the time. So it got incredibly hot, and the air conditioner is like the single most power hungry thing you're going to run most likely. So we learned right away solar's not enough. We still had to run a generator, or the solar that we had. So we put on some more panels, and once we figured that part out, it's worked ever since.
So when we decided to put solar on, we wanted to make sure that it accommodated everything. All of our appliances, we do a lot of work on the internet. Jordan still works from home. He has a laptop. I work on a desktop, and we wanted life to remain as normal as possible, despite being anywhere, even in a cul-de-sac. And we wanted it to be a seamless transition from one place to another, or even just from our house to the RV.
We wanted to keep things as simple as possible, as familiar as possible where we could, and electricity was one of those. So unless you want to live in an RV park where you want to run generators, and wherever you go, you deal with, well, can I run generators? Are there generator hours? Do I have neighbors? You don't want to be that person that parks their RV next to someone else. And
In the woods.
Yeah, you're in the middle of the woods. It's serene, and as they're going to bed, you start running your generator so you can play Xbox or something. We didn't want to do that.
No, because it's stinky.
Well, and more,
And
I
it's
think
loud.
more important for us, honestly, what it comes down to more than anything, it was about self-sufficiency in that regard. It's not about saving money. It's great not to have to pay someone for electricity, but it's by no means cheaper to do this in the short term. It's not cheaper at all. You could just keep paying your electric bill, and for several years that's going to continue to be cheaper. But we make our own power now, and we have control over our own power now. And if there is some sort of electrical utility outage, in fact, when we were living in the RV park, there would be utility outages, and we wouldn't know about them until we realized that it's black around us. All of the other RVs are out, and we were the only ones still lit up.
And people are walking around with flashlights trying to figure out what's going on, and we had no idea. We're just in there. I'm watching. I think I was playing Assassin's Creed, and Jordan was working, and we're just like, what's going on outside?
Right.
Is the power out? How long's that been going on? Oh, there was a storm that blew through a couple of hours ago. So, which brings the next question: is how long does our solar power last? Like, say, if the clouds roll in and stuff, how long are we going to have power before we run out?
And I guess that kind of ties into how do you know what to get? How many batteries do I need? How many panels do I need? And it's all a giant, it depends. It still is a depends just with us. How long does your power last? It depends on how little power you're getting in, how much power you're using. And you don't always think about the ways that you're using power and how they can add up. I mean, we've dropped our power consumption dramatically. Mm-hmm. We use less power now than we ever used. And yet it still can be challenging sometimes to make sure that you have to use it at the right times.
Yeah. And when you're living in a house, you can be power conscious, and we were at our house. We actually cut our power bill down to about a quarter of what it was when we first moved in, and that has a lot to do with the way that you live or the appliances and the gear that you have. And
when electricity is less than 10 cents a watt hour,
it's
or
not
kilowatt
that big
hour,
of a deal.
You just don't think about it.
You buy something and you bring it home and you plug it in. It works, and you don't really see much difference in the way that you live or your expenses.
Well, as bad as paying $200 in a month can be for electricity, that's honestly kind of cheap considering how much it costs to get your own power at first. So it actually is really easy to just ignore it and keep doing the normal thing. But
So yeah, we decided to go ahead and get this system because we wanted to be able to travel and go anywhere. We didn't know where we would be. And then ultimately our goal was to get onto a property where we knew there would likely not be electrical lines run. And we wanted to be able to not have a hiccup where we waited for power to be installed. We wanted that autonomy.
right, I mean, the fact that it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars in most cases to run electricity
Yeah.
to something that doesn't already have it, I'd rather put that into paying for my own electricity production, rather than give it to somebody else and then they could turn it off or mess it up, or we could go out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
For instance, the property that we purchased in Alaska, it will cost about $55,000 just to run electrical lines back to our property if we can get them to do it. Because there actually isn't.
there is electricity on our street. I can actually see, I think, a thing right now, but it doesn't come all the way down.
No, we would have to pay for it to run a mile.
Right, I mean, it's going to take
Yeah.
several hundred feet
Which-
just to get it to the cul-de-sac.
Living out in the mountains, that's not a lot. It could be actually worse than that. And we are actually a little bit more rural than we thought we would be. But this isn't rural. So we just have neighbors is basically what it is.
Right, and there's still power lines that go far more rural than this, but they're all right off the road, and we're like one step off the road. So we have to build a little bit more road just to get to where we are. It just doesn't make sense for us to put in that much money into something that then we don't control.
Yeah. So one of the questions you're probably asking right now was, but how did you decide what kind of system that you needed? How did you decide what kind of, what are the components that make up a solar system, and how did you decide what you need for your particular needs? Because there are a lot of people out there that are thinking about getting some solar, but they don't even know where to begin.
Well, and then just kind of to my statements earlier, my point earlier, the phrase "get some solar." People will use that phrase, but what the heck does that actually mean? I'm going to go get some solar. There's a lot more to that statement, and in fact, people will ask, is it worth it getting solar? How much solar should I get? What kind? Hey, my RV is solar ready. Our RV is solar ready, by the way, and it is not at all ready for what we need it for. So first, you have to determine, what are you trying to do? We knew what we wanted. Our requirements were to be able to go anywhere the sun was and have our own electricity.
Bang.
So maybe just close that so that you're not tempted to say bang again when I'm talking,
I
because then I
won't say
forget what I'm
bang.
saying.
I'll let it bang. Bang.
And then we get scared and go, ah.
Ah!
All right, anyway.
Okay, so how did we come up with our design?
How you're going to use it. RVs that are solar ready are designed for people that are weekend users. RVs are designed for weekend users, I should say first. They're not designed to be lived in all the time, full time. They're designed to be used every few times a year and then put away. So when they're solar ready for that. You have a regular car style lead acid battery that just powers your LED lights inside. It may power a fan. It powers your water pump so that you can have running water.
And those come on the hitch of your RV when you buy it. It comes
Right.
with that battery already.
You'll get a marine RV battery probably from the dealer, and you don't need anything else. You can
get a little fold out
right.
solar panel. And
They
use
make
that.
right.
Briefcase solar panels.
And you just pop that up, plug it into your solar ready port, and that just puts the battery, plugs it into your battery. The power coming in from
Port
those is
actually that they're talking about for solar ready is right here behind Jordan. It's called, this one's a Furion solar port, and what you do is you get your briefcase solar panel, and it has a little connector that is just like this one, and it just plugs in there and it charges up your battery, and you can run your LED lights and charge your cell phones and things like that. And for nominal use, when you're just going out camping or something and you're doing other stuff, or you're not running computers and living life like you normally would at home, that's sufficient.
the solar panel that you're using is probably no more than 200 watts, and that's a big one. You might just be 100 watts, and the current, this is rated for 10 amps, which is pretty low. So the point is that you now have solar, you've got yourself some solar, and you can't really do anything other than take it out on a weekend. You have to bring a generator or plug into an RV outlet somewhere if you want more power than that. So we knew we were going to use it more than that. We're living in it full time. We need real life use out of it. So already we knew we needed more battery than what we had, and we knew we were going to need enough power, whatever that was, to fill those batteries. So we first started just trying to estimate how much power do we even use anymore.
Yeah, we went through and we made a list of all the different devices that we used, and we used a kilowatt meter to determine how much actual power that each one of those used.
It's just a little. It's a little device that you plug into, an appliance plugs into it, and then you plug it into the wall, and it just measures the flow of current, the voltage, amperage, everything for that appliance. And so you can study that. It can also record and show you a history over time, average usage and things. You can use that to estimate how much an appliance uses with time. And if you can do that times what your TV or your laptop, a certain amount of time, you can start to estimate how much power over, say, an hour an appliance is going to consume. And then you can estimate how many hours you may use that appliance in a normal situation. You might want to lean a little extra heavy to be cautious and assume aggressive usage. You'd rather have more power than less, but power is expensive, so you don't want to go too far. You know, once you've kind of added all that up, you can kind of come up with a figure for how much power you consume, whether that's expressed in terms of watts or amps.
How much power you consume on an average day. And then you want to know, you have to ask yourself, how long are we going to be out? Well, indefinitely, okay. So if the sun was cloudy for X number of days, 5 days, say 5 days, and you were to use this much power every day for 5 days, you would consume this much total power, and your battery bank would need to be this large. In order to accommodate that much power coming in, you're going to need to replenish that battery usage like when the sun comes out or sporadically while the sun is shining through the clouds. So how much would you need in order to, so your solar array, on a good day you calculate it brings in solar power at a rate of about 70% of what it's, so if it says it brings in 250 watts, it actually brings in, expect about 180.
I think we should stay on batteries until we're done with batteries first, because there's things that
it's really hard to talk about sometimes. It is complicated.
It is. That's why I said it's just going to have to come out. So, well, I imagine what we'll do is cut this together. You'll see the footage. We'll see where we need to change anything, and then we
right.
That'll work out.
Who knows? We'll probably just do a retake after this whole thing because we'll have an understanding of how to explain this.
We'll teach ourselves through this video what to say.
What to say.
So
what to say.
So we talked about the battery that comes with, you get an RV Marine battery. It's typically a lead acid battery, and those have their benefits. Primarily, they're cheap. The downside is they're heavy. Power rating listed on the battery will be listed in either watt hours or amp hours, and the main thing is with a lead acid battery, you can't drain it below 50% of its staker capacity. So it may say it's a 200 amp hour battery, but it really means it's a 100 amp hours of usable electricity before you start permanently damaging the battery. So lead acid batteries are okay for small use and occasional use, but they don't last as long. They're heavier, they require maintenance, they give off gas, they require you fill them with distilled water, and really they're just cheaper in the long run. You'll end up replacing them more frequently than other maybe better long-term battery solutions. So there's a number of different kinds of batteries out there. What we decided to go with was what's called it's a Battleborn battery, is the brand, and it's a 12-volt Marine RV battery drop-in replacement. So it's the same dimensions essentially, and can be plugged into the same system as the previous battery that we had. It uses a lithium iron phosphate chemistry. So instead of lead and acid, it's using lithium iron phosphate. Mm-hmm. It's a very stable battery chemistry. It provides for nearly full capacity usage. So you can basically, your battery has been designed, if it says 100 amp hours on the battery, you can get 100 amp hours out of that battery without causing any damage, normal usage. Lithium batteries are substantially lighter than lead batteries. They don't require any maintenance of any kind. You don't have to, they don't gas, you don't have to add water to them.
Yeah. You do have to keep them warm.
And by warm, meaning don't let them get below freezing and then try to charge them. That's really the big downside, and it's not unique to lithium. A lot of batteries don't like cold, but with a lithium battery, if you try to charge it below freezing, it'll actually cause lithium plating in the battery, which basically causes permanent damage to the battery. So there are a number of ways to do that. You can either have a battery management system called a BMS that will stop charging your battery for you if it detects the temperature reaches a certain level. You can also have, we have warming pads on ours, 12 volt powered warming pads that that connect to the batteries themselves. And when the temperature is detected to drop to around 32 degrees, those pads turn on enough to keep the batteries warm. And because our batteries are stored internally, we don't have much of a problem with that right now. Our RV, the front of our RV came with a pass-through compartment, so you can open one panel and it goes all the way through the RV to the other side, where there's another door that you can open. And those are awesome for storing things, but we needed a place to put all of our solar power equipment. We chose to take the front pass-through compartment in our RV and turn that into our solar and battery compartment for a couple of reasons. One, it's the biggest single compartment we had. It runs from one side of the RV all the way to the other, but also because of the weight of the system. RVs need to be weight balanced, and when you put a lot of weight, like something like batteries, in your RV, you really need them to be on the front end rather than the back end. So the batteries are stored in the middle of the pass-through compartment. We have two walls that separate the pass-through into three sections. The middle section is where all of the batteries are. So this is our solar components compartment. Inside of here is all the equipment that we have for managing the electricity throughout the RV. On the other side of this wall is where we have our batteries. And then there's a control panel right inside the door that we can use for controlling the system as a whole, or looking at our power usage or our power production. Inside this cabinet we have, the main thing here is our inverter, or our inverter charger. And what an inverter basically does is takes your battery power, which is DC current, and it turns it into AC power like you're used to using in a house. So in an RV, if you don't do any enhancements to your system, your RV is set up for DC power. And if you have DC powered appliances, they can use like a USB or something like that. Most of your electronics are DC. They use batteries. You use an AC adapter when you plug it into the wall. That equipment can run directly off DC if set up properly, but most of the stuff that you use on a regular basis uses AC power. So in order to have house-like electricity and use house appliances, we have to have an inverter. This is also what's responsible for charging our batteries when solar power comes in, or this is what's responsible for charging our batteries when we're plugged in to what's called shore power. If you go to an RV park, you can plug your RV into an outlet and you can charge up your system that way. That's AC power, so it has to go through here and get converted into DC power by the charger. Outside of that, we've got our solar charge controllers. We have three smart solar MPPT charge controllers from Victron. That each of those connects to our solar panels up above. Those are responsible for basically managing the power coming in from the solar panels. So you can only have a certain amount of amperage or a certain voltage for your batteries, and then there's optimized levels of that. Job of the charge controller is just to manage that power and optimize it so that it goes into your batteries. We basically have filled our entire RV roof with solar panels and 2 more on the top of our truck for good measure. We wanted to get as much power as we could possibly fit on top of our vehicles and still stay mobile. There's one more spot where we could have put a panel on the roof of the RV, but 1, it's nice to have a place to stand when you get up there, and 2, we've maxed out our charge controllers as far as how much solar power they can take in. So we have to upgrade our system if we want to take on any further power with the RV. So,
which again is a huge financial overhaul.
Right. Just to add on a little more power means we have to start changing things. And if you're going to change that, then it changes this.
Next thing
or if it doesn't mean it has to change, but like, if we're going to change that, you know how we've been wanting to really, we want to get a 5 watt inverter instead of a 3.
And next thing you know,
Kilowatt
well,
inverter.
we'd do better if we have 48 volts. So let's change all the wires out.
Yeah, if we're going to do 48, well, I need to get different stuff. So we've maxed out our RV and our truck's ability for solar at this point. We got a combination of solar panels that we put on the roof. Some are brand new, some are used. We didn't learn about used panels until later and realized that we could save a huge amount of money on panels that someone else has already paid for. If you think about it, solar panels are supposed to last 20, 30 years and still maintain 80% of their power production. So if somebody's used this panel for 10 years and they're selling it for less, there's a whole lot of life left in those panels. So we ended up buying 4 250 watt used panels, and it's a game changer. It was awesome. It was best thing we've done solar wise.
And they're actually performing better than our brand new monos. The ones that we got are polycrystalline. The used ones are polycrystalline, and they're outperforming our monocrystalline brand new panels.
Yeah, so there's basically two kinds of solar panels. There's really 3 or more, depending on how technically you want to view. There's 2 basic kinds. There's what's called a monocrystalline solar panel and a polycrystalline. And a monocrystalline panel is one single silicone crystal. They're more expensive, but they're supposed to be more efficient. Several years ago that was true. They were definitely more efficient. And the other kind of panel is called polycrystalline, and it just means multiple crystals. They are cheaper to make, but they are supposed to be less efficient. So for the same amount of sun, same size panel, you should get less power out of it than a monocrystalline one. But in reality, it's not necessarily true. And our used polycrystalline panels have been our best performers by far than any of our monocrystalline panels, regardless of their size or who made them. That may not always be true, but it's been true for us. So they were 4 times cheaper than any of the new panels we bought at first. We learned the hard way that solar stuff is expensive, but there are cheaper ways to do it.
Okay, narrator Barb here. So now that we've given you a tour of what the setup basically is comprised of, and the background of why we chose to go the solar power route, here are the final stats on our solar setup. On the RV, we have 8 monocrystalline solar panels, 2 are 300 watts, and 6 are 175 watts. We added another 2 polycrystalline 250 watt panels for a total of 2150 watts on the RV. Then we added 2 250 watt polycrystalline panels to the truck. When the truck is plugged into the RV, this brings our wattage up to 2650 watts. To store the power our panels generate, we have 8 12-volt, 100 amp-hour battle-borne batteries that are equipped with their own independent BMS to protect the battery from overcharge, being overdrawn, and from freezing temperatures. The batteries are also kept safe from freezing by being kept in an interior compartment with warming wraps that are powered by the battery they are protecting. During cloudy periods of time, if our batteries start out at 100% charge, and if we avoid running high-load electronics like the air conditioner or the washing machine, our battery bank will supply uninterrupted power for us for around 5 days of no sun, before needing a top-off with the generator. To manage and direct the power from the solar panels, we have 3 Victron MPPT charge controllers with Wi-Fi that communicate with our wall-mounted Victron GX, which is our user interface for the system. We can also view and manage our system using the VRM portal online, whether we're home or away from the RV. We've been working to maximize the system we have by converting a lot of our AC power appliances and tools over to battery-operated appliances and tools, so that they can augment our battery system and trickle charge from the solar panels, especially while the Battleborn batteries are full. We also purchased a 2,000 watt-hour Bluetti to augment our solar and maximize generated power while our RV batteries are full. We can also use the Bluetti when we're away from home and charge them using our truck's solar panels. If you have any questions we didn't answer or have any comments, please feel free to leave them below, and we'll do our best to answer them. Tell us about your solar or off-grid power system and share with us how it's working for you. In the end, we're extremely happy with the work we've put into our solar setup, because if it weren't for the system, there's no way we would have been able to boondock for the entire summer as we built our driveway without much concern for power. Thank you for watching, and be sure to hit like and subscribe if you appreciated this video, and to follow us on our journey. We'd love to have you with us. So I learned from looking at that, I need to cover my belly and sit upright. Okay.
Or we just do closer shots higher up, and then we do close-up shots of this for talking about things.
Right.
So what are you going to do?
Nauseous again. Why am I always nauseous? Nauseous is
Stress.
bad. Okay. So let's see. How do we want to start this?
That's the stuff I don't know.
I never know.
I don't have a feel for any of this. So I don't know what to do. Social awkwardness extends into the videos.
Yeah.
And you have mosquito circling your That's our secret mosquito protocol.
Yeah, they call it the Alaska wave.
Well, it's more like a lasso.
Alright. So since we're smiling. Hey everybody, we are here. Ooh, he's huge.
Yeah, I heard him.
He's like 4 inches long.
Your battery has been designed. If it says 100 amp hours on the battery, you can get 100 amp hours out of that battery without causing any damage, normal usage. Lithium batteries are substantially lighter than lead batteries. They don't require any maintenance of any kind. You don't have to, they don't gas. You don't have to add water to them.
Yeah. You do have to keep them warm.
And by warm, meaning don't let them get below freezing and then try to charge them. That's really the big downside, and it's not unique to lithium. A lot of batteries don't like cold, but with a lithium battery, if you try to charge it below freezing, it'll actually cause lithium.
Alright, puppies, let's get them inside so they're not a distraction.
Yeah, but they can, like you said, if you don't see them, then
So I'm gonna hit hit record real quick. Just record.
I hit record. I hit it.
I have a feeling this isn't the last one.
No.
I'm looking to see if that light is on, and I don't see it because I don't know if
I need
it's
to
just the...
let my butt breathe.
Okay, good. I was actually concerned.
Hooray for not wasting time.
Yeah. I was sitting there, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I thought, I don't see a light that says that it's on.
It's on.
It's on, baby!